So good morning everyone, my name is Lalit Soni and you are watching Drishti IAS. In this live session, we will be discussing our Indian Express newspaper of the day. We will be going through important articles like Supreme Court on 30-week pregnancy. We have talked about this pregnancy related issues on Supreme Court very much. We have talked about the laws, abortion related laws in India. But again, we will go through this particular article. There will be a passing reference to abortion laws as well. So please remember that. Okay. After that, India, Taiwan and the chip gap. You know that Taiwan is considered world's chip factory, or you can say semiconductor factory. So now Taiwan is facing some kind of issues, and other than that also, when we are talking about the tension in the USA China relations, there are certain companies or industries which are looking for an alternative options. Okay, and India is trying to be that alternative option. So in this particular article, we will see that how India and Taiwan can collaborate with each other, and what are the gaps in that particular what are the gaps which are concerning for us. Okay, then plastic treaty talks. So UNEP has talked about this plastic treaty. So we'll be talking about this particular talks which are going on, and we will see what are the opinions of the stakeholders, what are the businessmen who are saying that what should be done with respect to plastic, etc. So we'll discuss all those aspects in this particular article. Then around the world, we will talk about one or two news which is related to your UK, European Union, etc. Okay, and European Union has gone for the relaxations in the visa norms for Indians. So we will talk about that as well. Why it has happened, we will talk about that. Then for an own read, there will be one article, and we will take a practice question in the end. With that, let's start with the practice question which was given to you in the previous lecture. Okay, before that, this is your Indian Express front page. There is nothing much to discuss from this particular page because most of the news are related to your elections. Either there is this person Gukesh, he has actually won a chess tournament, so that is one thing you can remember from the sports side. Okay, so let's start with the practice question. Which of the following countries does not have a coastline along the Strait of Hormuz? Okay, we have talked about this Strait of Hormuz yesterday. We have seen that if Iran is going to go for a seizure of this particular location, so there will be various things which can be impacted, like when we are talking about the economy, there will be an effect on the oil trade, and then there will be effect on the LNG trade, etc. Okay, so that is why this particular location was in news, and it becomes important because this is a you can say a strategic location, or you can say a choke point. Okay, then when we are talking about the borders, here you can say Iran has a border over here. This is basically your Strait of Hormuz. Okay, and this is the extended area of Persian Gulf, and this is Arabian Sea. So when we are talking about the options, Oman, UAE, Iran. Okay, so these are the area which are present over here. We have Oman, UAE, we have Iran. Okay, then they are talking about the last option, that is Jordan. Jordan is somewhere in the, you can say in the vicinity of Israel. Okay, in the nearby there is Dead Sea, and you can say this Red Sea, etc. is there, but not this Strait of Hormuz. Okay, so option D would be your right answer. Okay, I hope this is clear. Other than that, I would want you to go through the area of this particular, you can say, Mediterranean border. Okay, Red Sea, Caspian Sea, Black Sea. These are the areas which has been in news for various reasons. When we are talking about this Caspian Sea, so it has border with Russia. Now you know that Russia has always been in news for various reasons, like Russia-Ukraine war. When we are talking about Black Sea, then you must have known about this grain deal. Okay, Russia-Ukraine grain deal. Okay, so that was one thing because of which Black Sea was in news. Red Sea was in news because of the Hamas issues, Hamas, Israel and Houthis issues. Okay, then Mediterranean is the area wherein Israel also has a border. So that is why please remember all these things, and this particular area of Persian Gulf and Strait of Hormuz. Okay, now moving further, we'll start with the first article that is related to your Supreme Court allowed 14 years old rape survivor to terminate 30 weeks pregnancy. When we are talking about abortion laws, we have different timelines wherein up to a certain weeks you can go for the abortion. After that, you will require a consultation from two medical practitioners, and then there will be a medical board, and ultimately when we are talking about pregnancy which is as late as 30 weeks, then court has to decide on the advice of the medical board. Okay, so in this particular case, there was a rape survivor that is 14 years old girl basically, and she wanted to go for termination of the pregnancy because there are various stigma related to it. Okay, so that is why court has considered all those things. Court has said that there are some mental issues, or you can say there will be a condition which through which that particular girl has to go through, and that is why they have considered it and they have allowed it. Okay, so 14 years old rape survivor to terminate her almost 30-week pregnancy, terminating it a very exceptional case where we have to protect her. Okay, so here court has said that it is a very exceptional case, because most of the time when pregnancies are as late as 26 weeks, 28 weeks, court does not go for it, mostly because the fetus is almost developed at that point of time. Okay, so there is this issue of right to life, okay, and right to choice, etc. So but here they have said that it is a very exceptional case, so they have allowed it. Okay, hold on. Okay, now has clearly opinion that continuation of the pregnancy against the will of the minor may impact negatively on the physical and the mental well-being of the minor who is barely 14 years old. Here they have focused on the well-being of that particular child, or you can say that is 14 years old girl. Okay, a certain degree of risk is involved in every procedure for medical termination. Then it has opinion that the threat to life of the patient is if termination of the pregnancy is carried out at this stage is not higher than the risk of the delivery at full term of the pregnancy. Now in this particular case, what they have said that mostly when you go for a termination of pregnancy as late as 30 weeks, there is the risk of life. Okay, now they are saying that that is the same scenario is there when you are going for the maturity of the pregnancy. Okay, at the end of the pregnancy, if you are going to deliver a baby at the age of 14 years, there is another risk that is related to your life. So both the cases there is a risk to life. That is why they have allowed this particular instance wherein they have let this particular termination happen. Medical termination of the pregnancy, MTP Act is there in India. We have MTP Act, and now this particular act allows termination of pregnancy up to 20 weeks on the advice of a doctor. Up to 20 weeks on the advice of a doctor. Okay, so one medical practitioner will be enough. Okay, after 20 to 24 weeks, you have to take advice of 2 medical practitioners. Okay, so on the advice of 2 medical practitioners, you can go for termination. Here you can see up to 20 weeks, the advice of a doctor. Right to seek abortion is determined by 2 registered medical practitioners as exception if pregnancy is 20 to 24 weeks under certain categories. Okay, in this case there are certain categories which has been mentioned, wherein if there is a risk to life to the mother, or there is a some kind of fetus abnormality, in that case that can be allowed. So there should be a medical reason for that. Okay, then moving further, if you look at here, Article 142 of the Constitution, which empowers to pass an order necessary for doing complete justice in the case, a bench allowed the relief to the petitioner and asked the dean of the Lokmanya Tilak Municipal College to generate a to do the medical procedure. So basically they have allowed it, bearing in the mind that exigency of the situation and the welfare of the minor, which is of paramount importance, and her safety. So basically they have focused on the right of the lady to choose that. Okay, now state has agreed to bear all the expenses. So that is another thing. High Court did not contain an evaluation of the physical and the mental status of the minor, particularly regarding the background of the this particular case. So basically this petition has come as an appeal against the judgment of High Court, but High Court did not take care of this the mental pressure, or you can say a situation, or you can say a trauma that girl might have gone through. So that is why they have quashed the order of High Court and they have allowed the termination, that particular termination of the pregnancy. Now here what is important for you is to remember this particular paragraph, that is medical termination of pregnancy act. We have, there is a procedure up to 20 weeks, there will be a one doctor whose advice will be enough for the medical termination, and after 20 to 24 weeks you have to take medical advice of 2 registered practitioners, and then you can go for the abortions. But there should be a rationale behind it. There should be a case wherein either there is a threat to the life of the mother, or there is some kind of abnormality in the fetus. Okay, so I hope this is clear. Now we can move further. Amid India's chip push, Taiwan flags talent gaps, high import tariff. Okay, So here there is something, or you can say Taiwan has talked about India. Taiwan has said that there are certain gaps which has to be fulfilled if India wants to become global exporter of the semiconductor chips. Okay, so why all these things are important now? Because when we are talking about Taiwan almost alone is responsible for 90% of the chips globally. Okay, so you can say that it is a chip factory of the world. Okay, so now there are certain concerns because of which you can say various companies are moving away from the China, or you can say this particular area, and they are going for the other locations such as you can say India. And India is trying to be an alternative to China, as well as Taiwan. They are trying to be competitive in that regard. Now let's see what are the issues over here and how it started. We will see. Okay, a cumbersome administrative structure, a lack of experienced engineer, high tariff on electronic compound imports, inadequate infrastructure. These are the 4 challenges which has been discussed. We will talk about that later. Challenges that India needs to address before chip companies from the island territory start to commit serious investment. So if we are trying to attract companies from the Taiwan to come to India, there are certain challenges which we have to overcome. Okay, countries should focus on the signing a long term negotiable, or you can say negotiated free trade agreement with the Taiwan, because when we are talking about the components, or you can say electronic components, there are a lot of components which are being imported. Okay, for that you should have a free trade agreement, so that there should not be any kind of supply side constraint. Okay, so in that regard they have said that there should be a free trade agreement so that these components, or you can say supply of this component, is smooth. Okay, with Taiwan, that would allow companies in the semiconductor supply chain to import components, equipments and the material to India easily. So that is what the Taiwan's foreign minister has talked about. In order to get major semiconductor production to move to India, we need to think about the whole supply chain coming together, a whole cluster rather than just one company. So when we are talking about becoming an alternative destination, or when we are talking about becoming a global export hub for semiconductors, we should focus on a cluster and not just 1 or 2 companies. We should make sure that there is a proper you can say like when we are talking about the IT related sectors or software related sectors, there is the Silicon Valley. Okay, when we are talking about the IT in India, we have Bangalore. So similarly, there should be a whole cluster based approach wherein all these semiconductor industry can be established. Okay, so our focus is not to go for 1 or 2 companies. Our focus is to go for a cluster of the companies. Okay, more than 90% of the world's most advanced chips required for almost all electronic equipment such as smartphones, computer components, car components, data centers, fighter jets, AI technologies are made in Taiwan. Okay, as I told you, 90% of the semiconductors are coming from Taiwan. Okay, then here you can say since the escalation in the US-China tensions, a number of companies including from Taiwan have been looking to diversify from Beijing and consider alternative destination for their supply chains. Okay, now here what they are saying, that they are asking that we need alternative destination for the supply chain. Okay, we need semiconductor but from some other country and not from China. India has rolled out a $10 billion chip incentive schemes, has found some success in attracting some foundry investments, but not many companies. Okay, so they have attracted Tata, PSMC, but the thing is, there are bigger companies which are staying away because of the certain constraint. We will talk about that. Taiwan is looking at India as a potential investment destination, especially in the electronic space, but businesses from the island nation have some reservation which have stopped them from the coming to New Delhi so far. So that reservations are basically these 4 reservations which we have already talked. A dedicated task force, we have actually gone for a dedicated task force, that is basically India Semiconductor Mission. You saw that we have a national semiconductor mission as well, so please go ahead and read about this national semiconductor mission. We have this dedicated task force, that is India Semiconductor Mission, which aims to serve as a focal point of an efficient implementation of New Delhi's chip ambitions. Okay, so now when we are talking about where we are trying to establish these industries, so Gujarat and Assam are the area where we are trying to go for the establishment as of now, but yet there are 4 areas we will be focusing on. 2 of them are here. Okay, Now coming to the challenges which has been identified here, you can say there is a cumbersome administrative structure. Okay, so you can see we in India we have rat tapeism, we have some bureaucratic hurdles as well, lack of experienced engineer, high tariff on the electronic components, inadequate infrastructure. These are the four you can say challenges in you can say crux. Here we will talk about that in detail. Administrative structure, when we are talking about India's bureaucracy is seen as complex and time consuming, that is what rat tapeism is. Then streamlining the administrative procedure suggested, that is what is being suggested. So this is a way forward they have suggested. Okay, simplification of the laws and regulation that is required. Okay, second problem is engineers talent gap. So we have engineers, we produce engineers a lot, but the thing is they are unemployable engineers, they do not have experience. Okay, so India has a large talent pool of chip designers but lack experienced engineers. Okay, so that is one concern. So for that, what you can do is you can go for the collaboration program with Taiwan for training and the knowledge exchange programs, etc. Then talent exchange and the collaboration can be done with Taiwan. Okay, tariffs on the imports, as I told you, there are various components which are required for the semiconductor manufacturing, and these components are to be imported, and for that there should be a free trade agreement. That is what has been advised over here. High tariff on the electronics components are there. Suggestion for the signing a free trade agreement with Taiwan. Reduction of the tariff to facilitate easier import of components, equipments and the materials. So that is what another constraint is. Now moving to the next one, that is your infrastructure. Okay, so robust infrastructure is crucial for the semiconductor manufacturing. There is a model, that is Taiwan's Hsinchu Science Park. Okay, so when we are talking about this Hsinchu Science Park, so this is a model where you can see that there is an industry, then there are residential complexes, then there are recreational activities, there is a nightlife. All these things are present in one particular part. Okay, or that is basically your Hsinchu Science Park. Okay, in that particular area, those people or those engineers who are associated with the manufacturing of semiconductors, they are living over there, they are working over there. There are recreational activities, schools, hospitals, all the infrastructure is available over there. Okay, so reliable access to water, electricity and transportation is needed. When we are talking about the semiconductor industry, water is very much required over there. Electricity is obviously, for any industry to work, electricity is required. So these are some constraints which has been talked about. Then complete supply chain, emphasis on building complete supply chain, because we are trying to be an alternative to a particular industry. Now importance of IC design, testing, packaging and the material supply highlighted. Need for a cluster approach rather than individual companies, which we have already talked. Now conclusion, what is the conclusion? Here you can see addressing challenges require efforts from the both Indian government and the industry, streamlining administrative processes, investing in infrastructure, talent development and strengthening trade relations with Taiwan is crucial. We have talked about all these things individually over here, and now this is the conclusion of, or you can say crux of everything. Steps needed to make India more competitive for semiconductor investments. Okay, so I hope this is clear. Now if there is a question on the India-Taiwan relations, that is one important aspect of it, so please go for it. Okay, then now we can move further. Here there are certain issues between China and Taiwan which has been in the discourse, or you can say in the contemporary news, so you can please go through this. When we are talking about China and Taiwan, now this Taiwan, here you can say this is a small island country over here. Now this Taiwan says that they are sovereign country, but China says that no, they are part of China. There is this one China policy. Okay, so there is this one China policy. When we are talking about India does not have official you can say diplomatic channels, or you can say diplomatic or you can say embassy etc. in Taiwan. Okay, but in the recent years they have been talking a lot. There are some other channels through which they are talking. Okay, now rocky relations. China has claimed sovereignty over the self-ruled Taiwan since the end of the Chinese Civil War in 1949. So basically remember that there is a enmity, or you can say there is some kind of conflict which is going on between these two countries, because Taiwan is saying that they are sovereign nation and China saying that they are part of China. Now when we are talking about South China Sea, we have talked about these islands etc., these issue of South China Sea various times, so I will not go into details of it. Just know that there is this Paracel Island. Now then we have this Scarborough Shoal, Spratly Islands, then there is Second Thomas Shoal. All these areas are quite important. Okay, this is Taiwan. So there is this 9 dash line, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 and 9. Okay, earlier it used to be 11 dash line, but now it is 9 dash line. So this 9 dash line is an area which China says that this is a part of China's territory. Okay, so that is about South China Sea and the issue. When we are talking about these islands like Spratly Island, Paracel Island, these are some contested islands between different countries. When you are talking about Spratly Island, that is contested between China and Philippines. When you are talking about this Paracel Island, that is contested between Philippines, Vietnam and China. So please remember all these names. And when we are talking about the above, yeah, here East China Sea, there is this Senkaku Island. So please remember that among which countries that is contested. Okay. Now moving further, we'll see the next article that is related to your plastic treaty talks. What do countries, firms want? Okay, so let's see why we are going for it, because plastic pollution is a huge issue in today's world. So that is one thing, and other than that also we are going for various climate related changes. We are going for implementation of Paris climate agreement, and there are this target which are related to your 1.5 degrees Celsius temperature change, limiting temperature to 1.5 degrees Celsius. So all these things are basically related to your climate change related activities. When we are talking about plastic is the that it is very difficult to degrade the plastic. Okay, so that is why it becomes important that we go for the plastic management. Okay, so now we will see what is the issue related here. Global leaders will gather in Ottawa, Canada this week to discuss progress in the drafting of first ever global treaty to rein plastic pollution by the end of the year. Okay, by end of the 2024 we will come up with this particular plastic treaty. So this will be the world's first plastic treaty. Then it could be the most significant deal related to the climate warming emissions and environmental protection since Paris climate agreement, which has happened in you can say 2015. There are certain agreements which are quite important. One is that is Paris climate agreement, then we have Kyoto. Okay, then now this particular plastic deal. Other than that also we have Montreal Protocol, we have Kigali Amendment, we have various agreements or conventions which has happened with respect to the environment and the pollutants, etc. So please remember all these things. There are certain conventions which are related to your ozone layer or ozone per se, or carbon, chlorofluorocarbons, etc. So please go through those particular you can say conventions and all those things which are happening in this particular arena. Then we have for Hg, for lead we have, for mercury we have this Minamata convention. All these conventions are important, they can ask you, so please go through that. Now coming back to the article over here. So this particular Paris agreement which came in 2015, that is 195 parties, they have agreed to go for checking the temperature rise beyond 1.5 degree Celsius. Okay, why these talks are happening, because obviously UNEP in 2022 they have said that they will come up with a particular treaty by the end of 2024, and we are in 2024. So now this is high time they should go for living the commitment. So basically that is why they are talking about this particular treaty. Okay, so this is to address the world's plastic pollution crisis, to address plastic through their entire life cycle. So they are talking about entire life cycle, means that from the production till disposal. So they are trying to regulate the entire life cycle of a plastic. Okay, now what do nations want in the treaty? Many plastic and the petrochemical countries like Saudi Arabia, Iran, China, they have opposed mentioning the production limits. Okay, now these countries which are going for the production of the plastic, they would not want to have a cap on the plastic production. Okay, because that will affect their industry. So countries like Saudi Arabia, China, they have said that there should not be a production limit. Okay, then they blocked the other countries from formally working on the proposal treaty language calling for the production caps, chemical disclosure or the reduction schedule for the last year's Nairobi session. So basically they have actually stopped other countries from doing putting a plastic cap or any kind of language which gives an impression that there can be a plastic gap. So they have blocked that particular initiative. Okay, now there are 60 countries including EU, okay, European Union, then there are some island nations. Okay, now why these island nations are in favor? Because obviously they are the most vulnerable because of the climate change. Okay, so that is why they are in favor of banning this plastic sector. So there is nearly 60 countries including EU, that is European Union countries, island nations, Japan, they want to end plastic by 2040. Okay, so this is the, you can say, potential target, that is by 2040 they want to end the plastic pollution. And in that regard they have come up with this particular idea of the treaty. They called for common legally binding provisions to restrain and reduce the production and the consumption of the primary plastic polymers to sustain to a sustainable level. Okay, so obviously they are trying to say that there should be, these provisions which should be common and legally binding, otherwise there is no, use of that, because ultimately if there is no binding phenomena or binding nature to that particular, you can say, these provisions, no one will follow them. Okay, then what do the petrochemical industry and the corporates want? So there are some industry, there are some players, obviously if they are part of the production, okay, so they will not want to have a production cap. So that is one thing. They say that group argues that the production cap would lead to higher prices for the consumers, and the treaty should address plastic only after they are made. So basically they are saying that the production stage should not be under the preview of this particular treaty. Only the after, after the production, whatever is the lifeline, or you can say till disposal, that should be regulated under this particular thing. But on the other hand, there are certain other companies which are handling the plastic, or you can say which are using plastic for the packaging, etc. They are saying that they are with this particular thing, they are, trying to phase out the plastic in a phased manner. Okay, so that is about your plastic treaty. Now moving further, we have from the around the world, there are two news. One is related to no ifs and buts. Sunak wants to start migrant flights to Rwanda soon. Okay, so hold on a second. Here, like 2 or 3 months back, we have discussed a news that Britishers, or you can say UK, Britain has said that they will send the migrants to Rwanda. Britishers are, or you can say various of the European countries are basically facing this issue of migration. Okay, here you can see from people from the African side, or anyone from the, who has this a dream, or you can say Europe dream. So basically what these people can do is that they can take various routes, and from this Mediterranean they are trying to enter into Europe. Okay, so there are various migration channels, or you can say illegal migrations, which are happening from these countries, or you can say developing countries, to the developed countries like Europe, and because of which there is a pressure on their own resources. Okay, so they are quite worried about it, and they have come up with this idea that they will shift these migrants to another place, that is in Rwanda, in exchange of some kind of money. Okay, so now British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak promised on Monday to start sending asylum seekers to Rwanda within 10 to 12 weeks. Okay, so basically they are saying that whoever coming to Britain for the asylum, they will be sent to Rwanda. Okay, now the tens of thousands of the migrants have reached Britain in the recent years by crossing the English Channel. Okay, then in small boats, stopping the flows is the prime goal of the government. Okay, anyone or any government would not want to take too many of the migrants. Okay, because that will put a pressure on their own resources. But critics says that the plans to deport people to Rwanda is inhuman, and that East African country is not a safe place. Okay, when we are talking about the location of Rwanda, here you can say there is this Lake Victoria. In the vicinity of that particular lake, we have this small countries, that is basically Rwanda. Okay, now let's see the bigger map. Here you can see this is your African continent. Okay, so here somewhere we have this Lake Victoria, and in the vicinity of that we have Rwanda. Please remember that Rwanda does not have a border, or you can say direct interaction with Lake Victoria. Here you can say this is basically your Rwanda. Okay, so you must have heard about this Kigali. Kigali is basically a place in Rwanda, and there is this Kigali Amendment to Montreal Protocol. So please go and check what is this. Okay, I have already told you these protocols, these conventions are quite important, so that is why I have mentioned it. Okay, so this is Rwanda, there is Kigali, and there are certain lakes. Okay, Lake Reveru, and then we have this particular river, Ruhwa river over here. Okay, and then Lake Kivu is here. Please remember this particular name, Lake Kivu. Okay, there are other lakes like Lake Bulera, etc. In African continent, if we see, there are various lakes because of the Great Rift Valley over there. Okay, so there are various lakes. Okay, but now you can remember only one or two names, that is Kivu and then Reveru and this Kigali you can remember. Other than that, please remember the location. Okay, and there is this Volcano National Park in Rwanda, so please remember that as well. Okay, so I hope this is clear. Now we can move further to the next article, that is related to European Union eases norm to offer Indian multiple entry Schengen visa with longer validity. Now this article per se is of not much important, because such things keep happening, like visa norms are relaxed, visa norms are constrained, all these things happens. But here what is important for us is that there is this Schengen visa area, okay, or Schengen area, okay. So that area is quite important for us. So basically the news is that for Indian travelers who are seeking to travel on the holiday to Europe, they have actually gone for the relaxation of the norms, okay. Here you can say travelers seeking to visit Europe during the upcoming holiday season, the European Union will allow offer multiple entry Schengen visa with longer validity. EU eases the visa norms frequently, or you can say frequent Indian travelers will now be able to apply for the 5-year multiple entry visa, which puts them at par with the visa free nationals, okay. So for 5 years there will be this particular visa which has been given. Now this new regime uh, as an step, it is a step towards the people to people connect, okay. So that is, you can say tier 2 diplomacy, you can say people to people connect should be there. So that is why they have gone for this. Other than that also, when we are talking about the India and European Union's relations, they are getting better. We are going for more and more cooperation, and that is why, that is one thing that particular that step has been taken. Other than that, we have gone for the collaborations on the migrant policies, okay. So that is why that particular thing, you can say the change in the visa norms came in the context of strengthened relations under the EU India common agenda on the migration and the mobility, which seeks comprehensive cooperation on the migration policy between two sides, okay. Schengen visa allows the holders to travel freely in the Schengen area for shorter stays of maximum 90 days in a 180-day period, okay. So there is this particular area where there is a free travel, visa free travel is there in that particular area, okay. Schengen area, there are 29 European Union countries, okay. European countries in which European countries are there, okay, and there are some non-European countries as well. So please remember that there are 29 countries in this particular you can say Schengen area. This is the map of this particular area. Here you can see that from the Mediterranean over here you can see Greece, then we have this Italy, then all these areas are connected to each other. You can if you have a Schengen visa, you can go through all these areas without any kind of restrictions, okay. Now when we are looking at these green areas, these are non-EU countries which are part of it, okay. And now you know that Britain has also exited from the Brexit has happened. So Iceland, Norway, Britain and Switzerland, these are 4 countries which are non-EU countries, okay. So I hope this is clear. Schengen visa area, or please remember that this Schengen area, because they can ask you somewhere, okay. So I hope this is clear. Now for your own read, there is this article which is related to your health insurance for all ages, okay. IRDA has lifted age ceilings, that is for 65 years. So go through this particular article, that can be important for you, okay. So that's all about today's session. I will end the session with the practice question for you. So here you can see there is a practice question. What is the main purpose of the Schengen area? When we are talking about the Schengen area, which we have already seen, so I hope this particular question is very easy for you. But the thing is, when you are in exam writing, in the prelims, there can be a little bit confusion. So this area is for the economic integration, cultural exchanges, free movement of people, or military cooperation. Okay, so please go through these particular options. You can attempt this question and answer in the comment box. With that, I would like to take your leave. I'll see you in the next session. Till then, have a good day. Thank you. And if you have not subscribed the channel, please subscribe the channel. Bye.